What happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone, but I'm glad it did.
I never thought a cold sandwich in first class could become the catalyst for change.
But it was the moment I realized that being treated like nothing isn't just a personal affront. It's a reflection of a broken system. As Monique Hayes, a Black CEO, I sat in that plush seat, surrounded by luxury, yet served a meal that felt unworthy of my presence. The rich aromas wafting from another passenger's table clashed with the tasteless bread I was given, leaving me with a bitter taste that lingered long after the flight landed. Initially, shame washed over me, the same feeling I'd fought against too often in my career. Being mistaken for someone's assistant, ignored in meetings. This wasn't just an awkward moment, it was systemic bias at work, a silent thief, stealing dignity from those who deserved it most. Instead of reacting with anger, I activated a smartwatch that tracked discrimination on airlines, a technological shield to record this slight. What happened next was revolutionary. By documenting this indignity, I inadvertently alerted a system that would ripple across the industry. In the days that followed, 118 airlines signed a passenger equity pact, acknowledging the need for change. As I reflected on this journey, I could almost hear my mother's struggles echoing, a reminder of the battles fought before me. Today, I urge you to share your stories of bias and exclusion. Let's ignite a conversation around systemic inequity and demand dignity for all, because everyone deserves to feel valued, no matter where they sit. Excuse me, miss? Monique's voice shook slightly, the sharp click of her heels echoing down the aisle. Is this really all I get in first class? The flight attendant glanced up, her eyes darting over Monique's tailored suit before dismissively returning to the half sandwich on the tray. That's the meal for everyone, ma'am. Excluded? Monique narrowed her eyes, spotting a nearby passenger with a warm, gourmet dish. Are you sure? Because my neighbor seems to be enjoying a different experience. Order. The attendant smiled, but it felt more like a smirk. Monique fought back the heat rising in her cheeks. I'm a CEO, you know. I can't help but notice how this feels. Like an exaggeration, the attendant folded her arms, her tone sharp enough to cut. You might be more comfortable in the back. A knot twisted in Monique's stomach. You think I don't belong here? You're welcome to sit wherever they assign you, she said, turning away, leaving Monique to stew in quiet fury. Take. That moment, humiliated, invisible among the elite, ignited something within Monique. She felt the weight of years of subtle biases that reduced her to a mere accessory in her own life. With a steady hand, she activated her smartwatch, triggering her bias tracking system. Let's see how they like the data, she whispered, her resolve solidifying as she gathered proof of systemic neglect. It need to raise her voice. She would let the numbers do the talking. Monique sat in first class, the hum of conversations wrapping around her like an unwanted cloak. As she unwrapped her meal, a cold sandwich, she could see the steak dinner served to the white passenger beside her, complete with warm bread and sparkling water. It wasn't just the meal, it was the summary of experiences that had led her to this moment. Humiliation washed over her, but with it came a nagging frustration that bubbled quietly beneath the surface. Say she recalled countless instances of being mistaken for someone's assistant, of being overlooked in meetings where her ideas were dismissed without a second thought. Each incident was a drop in the bucket of bias, and today, the bucket felt full. Monique's heart raced as she glanced at her smartwatch, a tool she had designed to track these very injustices. The data it collected would speak louder than her silence. After the flight, she activated the system. Within moments, the airline's compliance score plummeted on her screen, sending shockwaves through her thoughts. This was it, the first time she was taking a stand, not with rage or confrontation, but through cold, hard data. The flight attendant continued to serve drinks, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath her cool exterior. Monique's mind raced as she realized the potential for change lay not just in her actions, but in how she wielded her voice. Quiet, yet powerful. The frustrations accumulated into something more than personal indignation. She felt a shift. She was done being invisible, and the time for change was upon her. Monique sat in her first-class seat, heart racing as the flight attendant placed a cold sandwich in front of her, oblivious to the contrast with the lavish meal served to the passenger beside her. "Enjoy your flight," the attendant said, downplaying her discomfort. Each bite tasted of humiliation, the moment a reminder of countless instances where she was overlooked. Yet, this time was different. As the plane ascended, Monique's resolve began to crystallize. Instead of indulging her instincts to lash out, she activated her smartwatch, the system quietly gathering data on the bias she experienced. "Let's see how this plays out," she whispered to herself, confidence sparking within. Later, she watched the compliance score decline on her screen, a number that would ripple through the airline's funding and reputation. "You have no idea what you've just set in motion," she muttered, allowing a faint smile. The flight attendant remained blissfully unaware, but Monique had taken the first step in reclaiming her narrative. In the days that followed, news broke about 118 airlines signing the Passenger Equity Pact. "Change is happening," she said during a video call with her team, her voice steady and resolute. "We're going to ensure dignity for every traveler." Reflecting on her mother's experiences, Monique felt a connection to a legacy of resilience. An empowered community began to rise. Individual stories merging into a powerful movement. "Let's not just accept things as they are," she concluded. "Let's build something better." Her quiet victories were only the beginning, signifying a larger comeback on the horizon. Monique Hayes sat in her plush first-class seat, her anticipation cutting through the hum of the plane. When the meal arrived, however, it was a cold sandwich, one that would be more fitting for economy. As she glanced toward another passenger feasting on steak and lobster, a lump formed in her throat, a familiar ache of humiliation, the kind that clawed at her guts over the years. It felt like another silent rebuke, another instance in which she was made to feel invisible. But this time, something in her shifted. Instead of confronting the flight attendant, she discreetly tapped her smartwatch, activating a system she'd painstakingly developed to monitor bias and discrimination. The gentle vibration brought her a sense of peace. This was no longer about the meal, this was about systemic inequity. As the plane touched down, Monique watched the airline's compliance score tumble on her screen, a stark reflection of her experience. She knew that this wasn't just her fight. It would ripple far beyond her singular moment of indignity. News swept through the industry. 118 airlines had signed the Passenger Equity Pact, a cornerstone initiative promising dignity for all. Monique's heart swelled as she envisioned the changes. Imagining mothers with children, CEOs in suits, workers in uniforms, all treated with respect in the same space. Meanwhile, the flight attendant remained blissfully unaware of the shift underway. She smiled at the next passenger, oblivious to the impact of her earlier negligence. In a quiet moment of triumph, Monique looked out the window at the clouds parting, letting the sunlight wash over her. The industry was transforming, one system at a time. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. A contentment born not of anger but of thoughtful action. She'd taken her experiences and turned them into something powerful, a true change agent. As she stepped off the plane, she felt a profound gratitude, ready to inspire a growing movement for equity and respect. As I look back on that flight, I realized the moment I was served a cold sandwich felt like more than just an insult. It was a reminder of how easily people can overlook others, especially when bias whispers in the background. I felt invisible, even in first class, where I should have been treated as an equal. But my reaction shifted from anger to resolve. I chose to channel my experiences into something greater. It wasn't just about a meal. It was about standing up against a pattern that many have faced but few have the tools to challenge. When 118 airlines signed the Passenger Equity Pact, I knew we were making progress. Slowly, yes, but surely. Now, I ponder, do you think I went too far? What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever experienced a moment that felt dismissive like mine? I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Let's open up this dialogue on fairness and respect, ensuring that every voice is heard.